What do you specifically look for when you are interviewing a candidate? What does a great designer should have whenever you're interviewing? Do you have any insights of the common errors people do during interviews? What do design managers really want? What are they looking for? Why I feel that after so much work and so much time, I am not getting an offer. Hi friends, I am Paulina, a senior product designer at LinkedIn, and those were the questions that I was asking myself during so many years of interviewing, trying every single thing and being rejected despite all the effort. That's why I ask some of the best designers at LinkedIn who are also hiring managers, what is exactly what they are looking for? What are the common mistakes during the interview process? And how can designers prepare really, really well? Join me in these 2 interviews and let's find out the answers. What do you specifically look for when you are interviewing a candidate? What does a great designer should have whenever you're interviewing?
Soft skills, hard skills. So, for example, for the hard skill, we'll look into the interaction designs, visual designs, and also the experience working with the design system. Do they think about accessibility, think about the globalization while doing the design? And also for the soft skills, like do they have the leadership for this role? And can they collaborate with others very well? Personally, think it's very important is the ability to think big. So can they actually think out of box, demonstrate that they have the ability to grow in the future career. And personally, what I see as a really great designer is I think there are like 3 big characteristics. One is curiosity, and second thing is attention to the details that could be improved. So the third thing I think which is super important is the initiative, or I would say the idea, and actually take actions to get things done. So I think that part is also quite important.
What do you specifically look for a great design when you're interviewing?
I think great design, as demonstrated in an interview, comes across as intentional decision making, and that can vary depending on what stage of a project you are presenting. So if you're presenting product thinking, like how intentional were you with the work you were doing, with the information you extracted? If you're doing, wireframe or flow mapping, how intentional are you in exploring like divergent thinking and mapping that back to the research or the problem you decided? And then same with like interaction design and UI, it's like how intentional are you with the decisions you made there and why you made them? And I think a good designer can sort of explain all of that with a lot of intention.
One of the most common errors people do during interviews.
Okay, that's another good question. The junior designers made is templatized case study or solutions. So for example, they always start a case study with some research, some interviews, and then move on to ideation to the mockups, mid-fi, hi-fi, hi-fi solutions. It feels like at a certain point they just okay, I need to use this method. I need to create a customer journey map. I need to create do a contextual inquiry, or I need to create an affinity diagram without knowing why at this stage of the design you need to use these tools. So I think during the case study review, I'm more looking into why as a designer you want to use that tool. So as long as you can present that logic behind this decision very well.
Do you have any insights of the common errors people do during interviews?
I think the number one error that I have seen the most is when designers tend to more speak about the tools they use and not necessarily like the intention and the thought behind the work. So what I mean by that is like, if someone is presenting in a portfolio or in a presentation and they're saying, I did wireframes, it's like, that's good. I'm glad you did wireframes, but I'm less curious about the fact that you did wireframes as much as I'm curious about how you used wireframes to solve a problem. So I think the advice there is focus less on the tools, but more how you use the tools.
What do you recommend for people to start their preparation for an interview? Any tips that you can give us for how to better prepare, or any exercises that you recommend?
Short answer is you never get fully prepared. So don't start the interview until you feel like you're fully prepared. Everything is done. For example, maybe you just completed 1 or 2 case studies and you can start to apply for the job. And then you will get some interviews and maybe you didn't get an offer, but it's okay because you're like keep iterating on your portfolio or the case studies and learn from those experience. But small tip on that is don't try to like interview your dream company in the beginning. So maybe start with some company you're not that like interested in going to in the beginning, and then after you feel like your case study is more polished, more competent in the interviewing process, you can start applying for those dream companies.
Do you have any advice on how people should prepare for interviews?
You can prepare in a lot of different ways. I think first is just having a really strong story for whatever work you're presenting. Again, with intention, explaining why your decisions are made. I think as long as you have that good story, that's like the foundation to a good design interview. I think after that, you can just practice telling that story, responding to people asking you questions, responding naturally, learning how to like take time to answer questions and think about it, and sort of just getting used to sharing and responding to questions in a very natural and informative fashion.
So in order to be a great designer, soft skills are as important as hard skills. Thinking big and the ability of growth, it's super important for a designer to have. And this goes along with the curiosity and attention to details to every single project that you are presenting. Ask questions like, how can this design be improved? How can take this to the next level? That curiosity, it's a great sign of great design talent. And hiring managers really want to see that. And obviously the last thing that hiring managers look for, if you are an individual who is capable to get things done. Not only telling, but just doing. So they want to see the action part. For the preparation part, understand that you will never get fully prepared. No one does. And remember that perfection is the enemy of action. There's always room for improvement and there is always room for the next iterations of this. Just start interviewing. This will get you this edge of having this experience and this practice, going through your use cases, practicing presenting, practicing your storytelling, and you will feel more confident because you will develop this skill of doing this a lot. So you will feel really great by the time that you are presenting this to a big tech company, if that's your goal. The more you do it, the easier it's gonna be in the future, and you will show so much growth for all the past experiences, all this practice that you've done. So by the time that you're interviewing with the big company, you are gonna be all prepared. You will be ready to go and you will nail it. Think outside the box. Don't follow the same structure that everybody does. Make sure you know your frameworks, but also make sure you understand why you are using them in order to create a more compelling story while telling the hiring managers that you are a very analytical individual. Always present the logic behind the decision. That's the takeaway. If you want to get a guide of the interview process itself for the big companies like Facebook, LinkedIn, Microsoft, Amazon, including these amazing insights from this interview, completely free, go and grab them from the link right down below in the description. Like this video and consider subscribing for more amazing insights about career advice for designers, design interviewing tips, and getting that job of your dreams in the big tech companies. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.